This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Hey, all of it, Cholas, thank you so much for listening to the Men's Room Podcast.
And thanks to our pals at the Advocates Law Firm for being great partners. Yes, even you, creepy Kyle.
Seriously, though, if you had been injured as a result of somebody else in your car, on your bike, walking across the street, talk to our friends at the Advocates Law Firm and let them help you out.
Yeah, they're the best injury lawyers around, and they want to make sure that you're not taken advantage of. Plus, your first consultation is free.
It's simple. You get injured, the advocates get results. Contact them today at advocateslaw.com.
What's up? It's your boy, the Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
All right, we made it to drinking time.
Somebody out there deserves to be recognized. And the Men's Room knows just who it is. So to you, we say, bottoms up, sailor. You're the toast of our shot of the day.
Drink time it is, and as usual, we head to the drink desk and Steve at Thrill Hill to find out who we're toasting.
Yes, indeed, and we kind of changed this shot last minute. Thanks to my friend VD sent this one my way. VD, you might recognize from the terrible production at the top of Mike's Top 10 list.
I noticed him.
Yeah. Today we chose 40-year-old Sergeant Major Michael Ransley of the Infantry Battle School of Brecon, Wales. Now, based on some shenanigans from October of last year, Michael is facing a court-martial. This is what you need to understand. Now, during the Oktoberfest bash that they threw specifically for his battalion, Michael, he's in charge. He was supposed to be responsible for, and I quote, setting and maintaining standards at the event. And as you may have guessed, he didn't do very well. It actually kind of depends on your perspective. You see, his guys, the people he was in charge of, they behaved themselves accordingly. However, Michael himself didn't do so great. Sure, he puked on and pooped in his lederhosen. And because he reeked of vomit and feces, other guests kept asking him to leave. He was actually escorted out of the event on 3 separate occasions, but our friend, he returned. Well, it finally occurred to him that maybe it was the reek of vomit and feces all over him, so he then discarded his lederhosen in the bathroom and returned to the event, but they pointed out the poop had stained his leg. It was still visible. Yeah. They asked him to leave again. Then no one saw him for a little while, and that's when they found him passed out, covered in vomit and more poop. Anyway, he is currently facing a court-martial.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, to be fair, they said, hey, man, you're responsible for the other soldiers. And he was. They behaved. Keep in mind, he intentionally dressed in lederhosen and pooped in them, and they said as he's walking through this event, because there's food, drink, the whole nine, people are getting disgusted because every time he was talking to someone, you could clearly see all the turds stuck to the outside of his lederhosen.
Jesus, man, that's so bad.
Don't do it in your lederhosen. So we pour this booze and we drink this booze because we think it's yummy.
Yummy!
So over the tongue and down the throat to party in our tummies. Down the hola bichola.
The Men's Room presents Profile This.
Hey, Steve at Thrill Hill, could you please tell everyone how Profile This is played?
Oh, I sure can, Miles. It's a simple game where we share with you a real-life news story, something that happened right here on planet Earth. And as you listen to the story, based on the stereotypes you believe to be true of people and the decisions that people make, we'll ask you what it is you think makes the story a story. Hello, Brian. Welcome to the Men's Room.
Liquor whores.
All right, Brian, you understand how this here game is played?
Same as the home edition, correct?
You got it. So you have which subject would you like? We have the wonderful world of drugs. We have Bite Me. In other words, what did someone find in their food? And finally, interior decorating, where you guess the foreign object that ended up on the inside of someone.
Let's go drugs.
All right, here's your story. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers in Texas, they're showing just how desperate some people are to hide drugs. Catching a woman who smuggled drugs in her vagina. According to CBP officers working with the Bridge of the Americas border crossing in El Paso, the woman, a 40-year-old American citizen, she was intercepted earlier this month trying to smuggle drugs into the U.S., stuffed inside a condom, which she then hid inside her vaginal cavity, which you and I know to be the vagina. Anyway, drug dogs alerted officers who then conducted a pat-down search at the pedestrian crossing. And officers say the woman then voluntarily removed a condom filled with drugs from her snuggle yam. Now, it appears that the actual drugs were inside of a custom container shaped to fit inside of a vagina, and then that container was wrapped in the condom. Anyway, the bust was one of 25 arrests over the past week at ports of entry in El Paso, which borders Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. Now, the question is, what kind of drugs was she hiding in the snuggle yam? Was it cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl, or heroin? So coke, meth, fentanyl, or heroin inside her vagina.
What does Ted and Miles think?
I think it's El Paso. You can get any of these drugs anywhere in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I think she went down to get some coke in Mexico that wasn't stepped on yet.
Ah, the Freshy Fresh.
Yeah, the yellow schmello. The gackers.
I think it's going to be methamphetamine.
Thinking meth.
Okay. Brian, what do you think?
I'm kind of torn between meth and fentanyl.
So I'm going to have to go with Miles on this one. I'm going cocaine.
Okay. All right. We're going to find out what she had in her honey bucket. Was it coke, meth, fentanyl, or heroin next?
That was a tease.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
99.9 KISW. We return to the men's room with Miles and Thrill.
Category drugs on profile list. We've got border officials in Texas, El Paso to be exact. They intercepted a woman who had drugs hidden inside her body. I think you know where that pouch is. Question is, was it coke, meth, fentanyl, or heroin?
And Brian, that's the very question that we posed to you. Let us start with D. Ted Smith.
Now.
Yeah, you went methamphetamine.
I did.
I'm afraid it is not methamphetamine.
All right.
And Brian, you agreed with Miles that it's your mellow yellow, the pre-white cocaine. I'm afraid it was not cocaine either. No, in this case, Ted, you should have gone with your other instinct, fentanyl.
It was fentanyl.
It was fentanyl, yep. Damn, vagina style.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now for all TV news all time for TV Time with Ted.
And now, because your pathetic life is confined to countless hours in front of a talking box, Armageddon. The Men's Room presents TV Time with Ted.
All right, your choices today, you got Bill Maher.
Check.
Saturday Night Live.
The weekend update.
The Jimmies. Seth Meyers. Ted Smith.
Is it Ted or is it late night?
It's right there, the title. All these guys have teams of talented writers help them promote their monologues each and every night. It is up to you to determine, is this an actual late night joke and from whom? Or could it be a The Ted Smith original?
Pete Davidson is reportedly leaving Saturday Night Live. The guy starts dating Kim Kardashian, and now he quits his day job.
Fallon. Ted Smith.
Smith. A new lawsuit is accusing McDonald's and Wendy's for exaggerating the size of their burgers in an ad campaign. The lawsuit is the people who have way too much time on their hands versus McDonald's and Wendy's.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, Bill Maher.
Fallon.
Hey guys, get this. A new lawsuit is accusing McDonald's and Wendy's of exaggerating the size of their burgers in ad campaigns. Yeah, the lawsuit is the people who have too much time on their hands versus McDonald's and Wendy's.
Paramount Plus announced it's making a Yellowstone prequel series that'll star Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. The 79-year-old Ford will play a wealthy ranch owner, while the 76-year-old Mirren will play his grandmother.
Shoot. Seth Meyers?
Myers.
That's SNL.
Paramount Plus announced they are making a new Yellowstone prequel series that will star Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. The 79-year-old Ford will play a wealthy ranch owner, while the 76-year-old Mirren will play his grandmother.
That's comedy.
It is. An attendant on Frontier Airline helped deliver a passenger's baby while headed to Florida. Because on Frontier, it's not even worth asking if anyone on the plane is a doctor.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's Saturday night.
An attendant on a Frontier Airlines flight helped deliver a passenger's baby while heading to Florida. Because on Frontier, it's not even worth asking if anyone on board is a doctor.
Did you guys see Saturday Night Live? They had a skit about First Take with Stephen A. Smith.
No.
Oh, it was pretty good. I was just watching it today, but yeah, it's just funny how those shows go and everything, and it's just like, it's a great morning. Then it's like, here's Kendrick Perkins. And he's like, well, I got to disagree with you there. It's not a great morning. Right. And it's like, oh my God. I'm like, right. Like, sometimes you're just arguing about
everything, anything, right?
Everything. But I was talking about those shows with a buddy this weekend, and we were saying, like, they got to fill the time.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what they do to fill it, right?
Right. And if you just have, like, people that are, like, super friendly with each other and agree on everything, it probably wouldn't be that exciting to watch.
It depends. I don't know. I mean, the formula now is like, right, you're going to disagree.
Right, and I always say, like, Pardon the Interruption was really, like, the first one of those shows.
Because Pardon the Interruption, to me, was what, like, Siskel and Ebert.
Right, and their show
legitimately, here's two guys. And if they do agree, they will. They just happen to disagree about a lot of things, but it wasn't so much a screaming match, you know what I mean? Just kind of,
right, and it's only about 30 minutes.
I think one of the great things about NFL Red Zone, you're watching the highlights of the best parts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's room for. There was a lot of action last night or over the weekend. You don't see all the highlights from all the games.
All right.
But I think if you broke them down and saw which players are playing, like even if you don't care about the Kansas City Royals, but they break down the game, they show all the highlights and all the runs scored, that's okay too. So I don't think there's necessarily a bad balance of just the talking heads. I just wish there was a highlight show, because that would be the show that I watch. Like, what did I miss that actually happened instead of your opinion? And you can comment on it while the highlights are on, but I kind of like to see that highlight show, kind of like George Michael would do once a week.
Like SportsCenter.
Yeah, highlights.
Well, and ESPN, they do a good job of that, because they have like those morning shows, but then also they switch back and forth. Like when they air on the early in the morning, they're on ESPN, then ESPN. So at some point, there's almost always a SportsCenter.
They'll move it. Yeah.
That you can actually watch stuff. All right, let's see. We were talking a little bit about Saturday Night Live. Well, it's official now. Four of the major players are leaving: Pete Davidson, Kate McKinnon, Adie Bryant, and Kyle Mooney.
All right.
Yeah. Kate McKinnon, honestly,
she's the biggest loss, right?
As far as she's been there for so long, like I almost forget she's still on the show.
I know, until you see her, right?
She's hysterical.
She's really good.
She's awesome.
She's pretty funny. Adie Bryant, I really like a lot too, and then Kyle Mooney, I think he's always kind of underrated.
I think he's very underrated. I think Adie Bryant's underrated. I do know that Adie Bryant is now working in production. She has a couple of shows that she's written.
Correct.
And has gotten picked up by other networks. So she's staying busy. Like, she's got skin in the game. Kyle Mooney, I don't know.
You might just tour.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think he's
might
been
do the Jay Farrell route.
Well, and Adie Bryant, too, I read an interesting article with her when they were asking about writing shows and everything, and she was like, I had to write one because the only roles they give me is, like, the sad, fat friend.
Right. The Rebel Wilson thing. You're specifically the fat character.
Right. So she was like, we can write a show, like, where she's the actual love interest, and it's not crazy or weird.
Right.
Let's see. Pete obviously was on Weekend Update, where he did a lot of stuff on Weekend Update,
of course.
Everybody else kind of went along their way. Adie Bryant, obviously, she left out with Yoan. How do you say his name? Bowen Yang.
Yeah, Bowen Yang.
I always called him Yo and Bang. I like that too.
Yeah.
Well, they always do like the trends.
What'd you do this weekend?
The trends are always very good, and it's those are some funny skits they do on there, which I really do enjoy that one. All right, let's see. Everybody's a fan of Good Times, right?
You mean the old TV show?
Well, yeah.
We were listening to the theme song in the office the other day.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Well, the painting that they used in the opening credits of Good Times, it was also used on the cover of Martin Gaye's 1976 album, I Want You.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember the painting very specifically from the beginning of Good Times. Because we sat down as a family and watched it, it always ended on that. I didn't realize Marvin Gaye had used it, too.
So it's actually a really famous painting by Ernie Barnes called Sugar Shack. It's so famous, it just sold for $15.3 million.
It's a cool picture. It's a great painting.
It is.
Yeah.
It kind of has a stepping out feel, but a little bit more soul to it.
Damn, $15 million.
Yeah, that's just insanity.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it would go for that much if it had not been on Good Times?
I don't know, but it's 70. When somebody bought it, that was 76 times more than they expected that it was going to be sold for.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, Mike, you do auctions, right? Like, I don't know. Like, right, there's like a set price, and then if people keep bidding, you just keep going up.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, this painting for $15.3 million. And then they said, 76 times more than it was expected to go for.
Somebody wanted that. And it wasn't J.J. Walker.
He couldn't afford that.
Hell no. His girlfriend could.
Who's his girlfriend?
What's her name?
Was he still dating Ann Coulter?
Yeah. Crazy white chick?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if she is or not. Let's see. Ricky Gervais. He thinks smart people get less offended by jokes. He was on with Stephen Colbert. He said, I think people get offended when they mistake the subject of a joke with the actual target. And smart people know you could deal with anything, like irony. He says he likes doing taboo subjects because it takes an audience to a place it's never been before, whether it's famine, diseases, even Adolf Hitler.
Right.
Which...
Yeah, I think he's right.
Yeah, that's what I say. I can't really...
The smarter folks don't get up in arms like, no, we understand the point of the joke, I guess is the thing, right?
Correct.
Right. There's a motivation behind it, and typically it's not nefarious. It's the exact opposite. It's the point of the absurdity of something.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable, but it's like, that's what comedy's good at sometimes, too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I saw there was some movie over at Cannes that was, like, pretty dark, that, like, people were leaving the theater.
Really? It was supposed to be a comedy?
That was the one with Jennifer Lawrence?
I don't think it's supposed to be I think it's like a horror film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to see that then. They left because it was disturbing, not because it sucks.
Twilight Girl.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in.
I don't know, man. I saw that headline. I was like, that seems like it'd be very disturbing. There's some of the stuff, and I get it. People write these things, but yeah, some of the scary movies, I'm like, man, that is too weird. I don't even know how you came up with that.
What's the name of the movie there, Miles?
Oh, I'm not sure the name of it. I just read that it was the people were walking out. And it's the girl that used to date Robert Pattinson.
Oh, Kristen Stewart?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it's her.
Wait, is it her or Jennifer Lawrence? Is it Kristen?
No, I think it's Kristen Stewart.
Okay, let me check.
Kristen Stewart.
It might just be because she's in it. She's a little weird.
She comes off a little strange.
A little aggressive, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You are who you are.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. She always seems a little scary to me, to be honest with you.
She always looks unhappy. Like she just got bad news.
Miserable.
And she's doing her best to put it behind her, and she answers your question.
Yeah.
But she's fighting.
We brought up Jennifer Lawrence. Well, Jennifer Lawrence, when she was a teenager, she used to sit on the toilet and pretend she was being interviewed by Ellen DeGeneres.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody does. Well, anyhow, she was on Ellen's show. They did a bit where Ellen called Jennifer. She was supposed to be on the toilet. Ellen asked her what other TV host she pretended to get interviewed by, and she said Oprah Winfrey, obviously, Letterman, but I was really into your show. So pretty much every time it was a number two, it was like, she's just like, look, every time I crapped, I just act like I was on your show.
So, how much time does she have left, Ellen?
I believe this is her last week.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. Which makes sense, because almost every, right, like SNL just had their season finale.
Right. Everyone's season finale-ing up.
Correct, right? Because we're just about into summer, and nowadays...
The NBA.
Yeah, the NBA's finishing up. Hockey's finishing up.
All the shows.
The English Premier League just finished over the weekend. Yeah. But yeah, we're getting into that time of year, and then TV, right? Just because summertime's like people travel and everything else.
Well, it's going to be America's Got Talent, American Ninja Warrior, like all those types of shows just dominate in the summer.
Right, which I was going to say, like, I think that's kind of cool that they actually put out some newer shows now during the summer. Because, like, back in the day, there was nothing. You just watched.
It's just reruns.
Yeah, you just watch reruns because outside of the news, there was nothing new in the summertime.
But it's so smart, too, to see the amount of money you make. Like, look, it's its own season. Summer becomes its own season. I got sucked into America's Got Talent last year, right? So I want to put something on because the kids are there. So we, like, flipped away from whatever we were watching, right? Let's put on America's Got Talent. About 10 minutes into it, I'm like, God damn it. Now I'm stuck.
I like this.
I do, man.
Some of them are pretty damn cool, man.
Some are stupid, right. Some are great, but I'm like, I never even thought about watching the show. It was just what we were watching was a little off color for the kids, put it on, and I'm like, yeah, we're back every week now. Kids need to know. I want to know. Like, son of a bitch. When did I ever think I'd care what Howie Mandel thought about a goddamn thing?
I'm with you, though. America's Got Talent, I go back and forth on it, and then before you know it, I'm like watching.
You are sucked in. Yeah, they deserve better than that. They got more talent they're getting credit for.
Right, and I'm not big on singing shows, but that's why that show is great, because it's just like, no, it could be any talent.
Anything. Right?
Sure. You could sing, you could dance, you could play with hammers.
You can juggle.
Have they had a juggler on there?
I'm sure they have, not one I can remember.
I think if you're going to juggle on America's Got Talent, you got to juggle like
big balls, yeah,
like chainsaws.
But it doesn't be like 7 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because people go out there and they still do crazy things and they're like, yeah, we're just not feeling it. Because the bars have been set so high.
Yeah, it's not crazy enough.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen this. Like, dude, he's wrestling a gorilla. Yeah, but the guy we had last week wrestled 3.
Yeah.
So, it's that kind of thing.
They should also, and NBC, feel free to use this if you want, they should have a spin-off show called America's Got Crazy Ass Talent. And it's just, not that it's any better.
It's like somebody can do beer pong real well or something crazy.
Right, it's just stupid stuff like that.
Or twerk so awesomely you can't take your eyes off of it,
Right. Like, you got some crazy
guy swishes like 40 in a row on cornhole.
Party tricks, right? The thing you do for a beer, that should be on the show.
I can flick a bottle cap and knock
10
someone in
King
the forehead.
Catch a grape 30 feet away if you
or an M&M.
That is amazing.
Oh, man, let's see. It's Monday night. It's the fourth season finale. Phil, do you know what show it is?
Hold on. I think I know. I got to remember. American. All American. There you go.
Check that out if you want to. I believe there's basketball playoffs on tonight as well.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. You're listening to The Men's Room.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
The Men's Room returns with Miles and Thrill. Now, let's see what's happening in the real world.
All right, here we go. A woman loses her Apple Watch on a ride at Disney. Whoever found it ran up $40,000 on her Amex card. To Atlanta, you might be shot while driving downtown. To the Varsity on the Boulevard. In Japan, a 71-year-old is arrested after breaking into a bar. South Carolina high school schoolers are banned from graduation after taking senior prank too far. And Japanese teen calls cops after seeing a man using old technology. It is time for your headlines.
Now, it's time to hit the headlines. Here's my cop.
Top story, we go to Japan where police got a call from a scared teen. The young lady called authorities from a local train station about a man that was walking about the station with a knife of some kind. They arrived on the scene and tracked the man down using security footage. With his cooperation, they searched his bag to find that the woman's friend was actually correct, that it was just an old school flip phone, not a knife in his possession. They don't look enough like knives to get that much of a panic.
I would think, if I had no idea what it was, I think I'd recognize it as a piece of tech, and maybe I'm worried it's a bomb or some incendiary device, but not a knife. A big rectangular.
I mean, it is a razor, so.
There it is. I saw a razor right on the front.
Right. But like you're saying, nobody just carries a doggone Bowie knife around, which is what it would have looked like.
At best.
Right. If you're really just not seeing things.
He keeps holding the knife up to his face and talking to it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Unless he's calling it precious. In other news, to Atlanta, where road rage was the true winner. A man told police and reporters that while he was driving down the road, one of his fellow drivers was obviously upset about his method of merging and responded by waving a gun at him and firing a single shot at his Mustang.
Jesus.
Not about to let that slide, the man gave chase, eventually following the shooter to his home, where he went inside, retrieved more firearms, and fired more shots at him.
What did he think was going to happen?
I don't know. Nobody was injured and the shooter was arrested. And the thing is that the more that I read this story and read the quotes from the guy, he's that guy. You know, glad that I called police and I didn't have my own weapon out there, otherwise we would have had an incident. It's like, oh, shut up.
Or you may have gotten shot.
Right. You chased down a guy that shot at you, and then you got shot at again. Okay.
Because you went to his house.
Like,
the guy that just shot at you, you followed him home.
I'm not going to make any excuses for the guy firing off shots because
the guy who got shot at.
If someone fires at me, the last thing I want to do is follow. I don't think they're going to get more rational when they realize I have followed them home.
The guy who got shot at also had a gun in his car.
Yeah.
He could have shot back.
Right. That's what he was saying. It's like, I could have shot back. It's like, okay.
So I could have mugged an 8-year-old lady at the ATM.
Right.
I mean,
you also could have rammed your car into his to show how mad you were. Like, you also could have let it go. Damn.
Although, to be fair, when someone opens fire on me, I do have a harder time letting it go.
Agreed, but
Yeah,
but
hold
my
on to
method
that
of
for a
letting,
minute.
but my method of not letting it go isn't let me chase down that SOB to his house. It's I'm going to take down his license plate and call the cops.
Yeah, not if he shot at me. Like, I'm not following him
Let's
home.
think for a minute here. I mean, I get it. I gave the guy a double bird and I got a couple doors that flew open on me, but shoot, I didn't track him down to his house. Just gave him the one-off. It's the story that comes around once a year. Several students in South Carolina are facing the punishment of not walking at graduation due to their antics. It's not unusual for seniors to pull pranks on the school in their waning days of school, but the amount of trash, graffiti, and general messy items that were spread across the school, as well as money and equipment that was stolen from the main office, is the defining reason why the group of students have been kept from walking. But it spurred the community to rally behind them to let them cross. They're actually standing out in protest with several signs, my favorite of which says, "It wasn't a DUI."
And no one said it was.
I didn't shoot at nobody.
Right.
Like, you still damaged property. You didn't just make it messy and unfortunate for the janitor. Like, you broke stuff. You made it an absolute tornado of disaster that rolled through
You
there,
didn't,
man.
and look, kids do what kids do. I understand that. But they could have pressed charges. They could have made this legal. Instead, they said, look, we're going to do you solid. Ain't going to ruin your future, but you can't walk across stage.
Right.
And parents are still protesting. I'm like, what is the lesson you want kids to learn?
We had this piece that was out in the courtyard of Enumclaw High School. I don't know if you would call it a monument. I forget what we called it, but it was just this big artistic thing that all the kids sat on during breaks, right?
Yeah.
That thing had TP on it every day towards the end of the year because that was the senior prank. Leave it at that. You don't need to come out with graffiti. You don't need to come out with your maple syrup and confetti like these guys had.
But the difference is, if this community rallies and these kids end up getting to cross the stage, there's no lesson learned.
No. You just made it okay for everybody.
Right. I had a buddy, he got caught at prom drunk, so he wasn't allowed to walk during graduation. His dad was a faculty member.
Oh.
Right, but you go
that was embarrassing.
Well, his dad probably agreed to that. Like, no.
Right.
It could be worse.
It looks bad for him.
So we're
if you
doing
know.
this, right?
Goodness gracious.
And you don't have to include that on your college entrance exam. You know, they don't ask, did you get to walk? They just want to know if you got your diploma.
Exactly.
Yeah. They didn't. There's no punishment involved.
Oh, no.
They're getting off scot-free.
You couldn't sit there for 3 hours listening to people that you don't care about give a speech about something that you don't care about.
Right.
When you go up there and you walk and you grab a piece of paper that you don't even get until like 20 minutes after.
It's not
everything's
actually
done.
in the thing they handed you. That'll teach them.
Hey, 5 Air Force reservists got in some trouble after an unauthorized landing. The crew received disciplinary action after they landed a C-130 plane at Martha's Vineyard so that they could pick up one of the crew's vintage motorcycle.
Okay, well, you're going to get in trouble.
You're going to get in trouble for that one. However, you know what? Not a bad move. And that is it for your headlines. With that, Mike Hawkins out.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Men's Room Happy Hour is up next exclusively on the Odyssey app.
Yes, indeed, it's all true, but in the meantime, well, we be all about this bitch for 180 seconds or so. So until then, please, do what you do best. And for Aletha's sake, stay beautiful.
The Men's Room has been taped before a live studio audience. Wardrobe and makeup provided by Mantastic Limited. This has been a presentation of the Men's Room Radio Network.
Oh, man!
A Double Flush production.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too big to fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.